what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and I've got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 10 of What If Deku Had Full Counter. Please, sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. With that little intro out of the way, let's get this story going, shall we? The final match had begun. Todoroki opened with an ice attack just as Bakugo rushed into battle on his explosions. The blonde destroyed the oncoming glacier. Todoroki avoided his opponent's assault by moving away on a wave of ice. Bakugo changed his trajectory mid-flight, something he picked up from watching Midoriya. The match had only started a minute and a half ago, but it had felt like it had been dragging on. Frost was forming on Todoroki's body again. He needed to end this before his body froze over. Before Bakugo could do another rush attack, the icy hot teen sent out a massive ice attack. The resulting glacier was even larger than the one before that had appeared in the fight against Sero. Mist came out of Todoroki's mouth with each heavy exhale. He had started to relax, believing he had won. Then, there were heavy explosions before Bakugo shattered the ice. You think that cheap parlor trick will take me down? You're gonna have to try a lot harder than that! Bakugo did an explosive blitz. Todoroki tried to defend with an ice attack, but he was too cold and slow. The explosive blonde changed course and flew over Todoroki before blasting him in the back. The icy hot teen stumbled forward, hitting his head on the ice before he fell to the ground. Bakugo didn't let him stand back up, putting his foot on Todoroki's back and pushing him down with all of his weight. What's with the lack of fire, you peppermint bitch? Do you think I'm not strong enough? That scrawny Skywalker is pretty damn strong and you ripped his arms out. I'll make you pay for that. Sho-chan, I believe in you. You've got this. Midoriya called from the stands. Show him what you're made of, Chili Pepper. Kick his ass. Todoroki could hear his family encouraging him. He laughed, smiling to himself. Is this a joke to you? You're a smart fighter, Bakugo, but you left yourself open. The two-tone teen drove his foot into the blonde's knee. Bakugo staggered back as Todoroki stood up. The frost began to melt from Todoroki's body as small flames began to crackle off his left side. Your explosions come from your sweat, right? Then you'd better do well to dodge my fire. Blazes and blasts dominated the battle. Unexpectedly, the one to burn out was Bakugo, and accepted his defeat with dignity. The final standings for the first year sports festival were Subaraba in third place, Bakugo in second, and Todoroki in first. Normally, Endeavor would have boasted and praised the results, but the Flame Hero was uncharacteristically silent. Ito was nowhere to be found either. He had to leave due to a family emergency. Shinzo was planning on leaving during the closing ceremony. He was tired of the pomp and splendor. However, an older man with long black hair got in his way. Hitoshi Shinzo, I'd like you to come with me. All Might and I want to talk to you about your future as a hero. There was no way to measure Shinzo's confusion. The purple-haired student had nothing better to do, so he followed Aizawa. This choice was going to change everything. Classes resumed the following day. The students were ecstatic to learn they'd be signing up for hero internships and choosing their codenames. With Midnight's assistance, the students took turns going to the front of the class and gave their hero names. Midoriya was having a hard time figuring out his codename. There was a lot of potential for a name, especially combined with the mythos of his mother's family side. Then, inspiration hit. Midoriya feverishly wrote down the name before running to the front of the class. I am the Kitsune hero, Taiko Sochi. There was a lot of positive response to the name. After getting the okay from Midnight, Midoriya returned to his desk. He noticed the expression on Ida's face. The vice rep appeared horribly conflicted as he struggled to write down a name. He ultimately decided on Tenya. The school day ended, and Ida was walking off of campus with a scowl. He didn't look up from the ground until he bumped into someone. I'm sorry. Nah, don't be, Hisashi said. No damage is done. I actually wanted to speak with you. How are you holding up? With what happened to your brother, I want to know how you're feeling. I'm fine. The conversation was cut short as Izuku ran to hug his father. The two shared an embrace as Ida started to walk away. Slow down, Speed Racer. I was planning to take Green Bean to a special cafe I know. Why don't you join us? You can get what you like on me, and we can continue our conversation. I wouldn't want to impose. Please, Ida. I insist. Hisashi led Izuku and Ida to the cafe. It was a quaint hole-in-the-wall coffee shop, one of the few in Japan that had an outdoor smoking area. The three men ordered their drinks before taking a seat on the outdoor patio. Ida felt a bit out of place with the Midoriyas. Ida spoke up. Mr. Midoriya, I don't think now is a good time to... Hisashi's mouth sparked in flames, igniting an herbal cigarette. As he watched Hisashi take a drag, Izuku felt a knot form in his stomach. He knew his father never wanted to smoke in front of him or in public. Bad influence and all that, especially if he were in his hero suit. High stress and heavy information, on the other hand, would force Hisashi to breach his code. This conversation wasn't going to be fun. Their drinks were brought to the table as the silence lingered. I was here on July 15th, 15 years ago, having just returned from the States. My wife was going to meet me here, but there was a drunk driver on the road. The bastard didn't even slow down after hitting her. I ran to Inko as the owner called an ambulance. I was scared. We both were. She was with child at the time. I didn't want to lose either of them. We got to the hospital, but I wasn't allowed in the operating room. I didn't like it, but I understood. It was an emergency, and they needed to save her. I called NG and Ray, telling them what had happened. They came to keep me company. The doctor came out of the room hours later, carrying a bundle of cloth. He handed me the bundle and said, "Congratulations, it's a boy." He said that Inko had begged him to save the baby first. I demanded to see her, but... Izuku was starting to understand, tears rolling unnoticed down his face. Ida just took in the story. He didn't want to interrupt. I became involved with the hunt for her killer. His name was Yoi Otoko. On the day of the murder, he was fired and tried to drown his sorrows with cheap booze. I was allowed 5 minutes alone with him, and it took my all not to burn him. What did you do? Ida asked. Hisashi took another drag of his cigarette. I rearranged his face before talking to him, but I wanted to do so much more. You said before that Mom died in an accident. Why didn't you tell me this before now? I didn't think it was fair for you to know that at such a young age. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. But, Mr. Midoriya, why tell me this story? How am I involved? You want to kill the hero killer for crippling Ingenium. It wasn't a question. Ida remained silent. This spoke volumes to the pro-hero. Hisashi snuffed the smoking end of his cigarette between his fingers, unburnt by the embers. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I understand your pain and your desire for revenge, but rushing in fueled by hate will only get you killed. Ida still hadn't said anything, which was worrying. The young speedster chugged the rest of his orange juice before standing. I have to go. I want to see my brother before visiting hours end. It was the first day of internships, and Kirishima had the biggest sharky grin. Kiyo's agency, the Crimson Torch Agency, was one of the proposals he received. The redhead couldn't believe it. For an entire week, he was going to be working with his favorite hero's best sidekick. Kirishima entered the building and immediately recognized some of the sidekicks that were going about their day. There was Sir Fencer, the gentlemanly swordsman, and Singe the firebender. Near and far, the hero of short teleportation was speaking with a receptionist, while M-Bird and Pyro King Puma listened. The UA student approached the desk, nervously waving to the pro-heroes. The receptionist told Red Riot that she'd let Kiyo know of his arrival. So you're Red Riot! I have to say, I'm not that impressed. Ow! Pyro King was smacked by M-Bird. Be nice, kitty. The boss has spoken highly of this one. Kirishima was astonished. He has? Oh, hell yeah! Spitfire likes your gumption, kid. Said you remind him of big old Crimson. Well, I won't be impressed until I see Little Red Hard Rock here in action. Near and Far teleported behind Pyro. Well, your highness, let's go on patrol for a bit if you want action. Oh, no you don't, you jumpy git! You know how much I hate! Both the mischievous teleporter and the angry fire cat warped away in a sparkle of light, while Ember chuckled at her co-worker's antics. The receptionist told Kirishima that Kiyo was waiting for him upstairs. Kirishima knocked on the office door he was directed to, but got no response. The red head entered the room hesitantly. The room was rather dark, the only light coming from a desk lamp. Hello? You here, Kiyo? No answer. As Kirishima stepped deeper into the chamber, his curiosity and suspicion began to rise. He was unaware of the one watching him from the shadows. The desk was strewn with papers and folders, arranged in a haphazard manner. Kirishima didn't understand the paperwork, but there was a sticky note that caught his eye. The redhead took the note from its place on the lamp's base. On your left. What? Someone snuck up on Kirishima's left, striking his arm before hurling him across the room. Landing on his feet and hardening his arms, Kirishima rushed his assailant. The two traded blows for about 36 seconds before Red Riot was pinned to the ground. Kirishima kept a brave face the best he could, but there were creaks in his facade. Well, you definitely lasted longer than past interns. With 2 finger snaps, the lights came on. Kiyo smirked as he stood, leaving Kirishima confused. The Spitfire hero helped the young man stand. Sorry for the hazing, Red. This is a test I do with all the new hero kids. How they handle stepping into potential traps and what they do in an ambush is something I find important to know. Well, how'd I do? You were the quickest to react after I hit you. You're lucky to have a quirk like yours. Had I used a bat or a blade, I could have blinded you or messed up your windpipe. Lucky? My quirk? Nah, it's pretty lame. It's a defender's quirk, Red. You can do a lot of good with it, especially after you gain some experience. And, in my book, experience outranks everything. Kiyo put his goggles on before heading to the door. Suit up, Red Riot. You and I are going on patrol. Kirishima was very excited. Yes, sir! Elsewhere in Japan, Shoto and Izuku, dressed in their new hero attire, were taking a Hosu-bound train. They were going there with endeavor to find the hero killer. The flame hero wanted to put a stop to these murders personally. You okay, Takasochi? You've been quiet for a while now. I'm fine. Just thinking about something my dad told me the other day. It was some pretty heavy stuff. It was about Little Fox, wasn't it? Who? Little Fox. That was Hazashi's nickname for Inko-chan. Can you tell me more about her? Like, what she was like or how they met? I don't think my dad will have an easy time telling me. A smile came to Endeavor's face. A warm one without malicious intent or pride. That smile made Shoto uncomfortable. They first met in middle school. Inko-chan was getting assaulted by bullies behind the school building when your father ran in to save her. The cowards ran, but Hazashi passed out due to his injuries. Inko-chan used his phone to call me, and I went there to get him to the hospital. The two became friends after that, more or less. The Kitsune hero absorbed the story before thanking his uncle. There was a shift in the train's speed as it approached the station. Endeavor approached the doors and his interns followed. They were now in Hosu. Time to hunt a killer. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track and securing your privacy. In addition to providing you with safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? Well, With NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming services with just a press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years. That's $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. The first 2 days of internships went well. Nothing too exciting happened for the affiliates of the Endeavor Agency, but things became exciting for the Crimson Torch on the morning of the 3rd day. There was an explosion in the basement lab caused by one of Mei Hatsume's prototype babies. She was interning at the Crimson Torch under the tutelage of the agency's own support item repairman, inventor James Bond. Kiyo made sure everyone was okay and nothing was damaged. Turns out James and Hatsume were working on a wrist-mounted flamethrower for the Spitfire hero. They just had to figure out the gas cartridge situation and the output setting so the device didn't explode when on Kiyo's arm, which wouldn't be good for anyone if that happened. In the shadows of Hosu, strange things were happening. The young League of Villains leader was on the rooftops, still fuming from his discussion with Stain. Shigaraki wanted the League to have that kind of recognition. He deserved it, not some knife-wielding ideologist. Yatsuma and Kurogiri emerged from a warp gate. The wispy bartender didn't like that his sister was out of bed when she was still recovering from her bullet wounds, but the psychic villainess was insistent. The pink-haired woman floated towards her young ward. Stain wasn't a nice guest. I don't want to be a host to him again in the future. You should be resting, Yatsuma. I'm feeling better, Tamura. You don't need to worry. Yatsuma brushed some of Shigaraki's hair behind his ear before cupping his face. The young man leaned into her touch. As the elder woman drew him into her embrace, a soothing sensation welled up in his chest. Yatsuma's motherly touch and her lullaby were the few things that could bring Shigaraki down from his tantrums. There was a constant smile on Kurogiri's face, though it went unseen. There might be a way to take the spotlight off the hero killer if you would hear me out. This made the young man curious, and he let his guardian continue. We have 3 Nomu at our disposal, and the doctor wants to test their abilities in the field. We could send them into Hosu and let them sow destruction. That's brilliant, Yatsuma! Kurogiri interjected. But we were informed we might lose control of the Nomu if they got too far away. Which is why I will monitor them closer while you two observe from afar. Sister, you're still recovering. I will not allow you to do this. You're too important to me, to us. Yatsuma took hold of Kurogiri's hand, her fingers interlocking with his as her hand vanished under the shadow like mist. I know, little brother, but we must take risks in order to achieve our goals. I'll be safe. I'll watch the Nomu bring everything to the ground, and if I run into him, I'll play around with the hero killer Stain. After all, he seems to have a lot of fright in him. I want to see how long a toy like him will last until he breaks. Kirishima had never ridden on a motorcycle before. It was so cool to be riding with Kiyo on the fire cycle. Kiyo had told Red Riot they were going to Hosu to see if they could find some leads on the hero killer. There was a pattern that Spitfire noticed in Stain's attacks. He'd always kill 4 heroes before moving on to the next city. Ingenium was the second victim in Hosu that they knew of, so they didn't have much time before the hero killer moved on. If that happened, they won't be able to find him easily until another life was taken. Red Riot would do everything in his power to prevent the loss of more heroes. There was also Tenya to worry about. The younger Ida was hell-bent on revenge and would be killed if he faced Stain alone. Kiyo was not gonna let that happen. When the first Nomu was sighted, Ida had parted from Manuel. He was going to exact his revenge, and no one was going to stop him. The streets were vacant, evacuated the moment the attack started, so the speedster didn't have to worry about running into anyone. That was until he saw a motorcycle coming in his direction. He thought nothing of it as it passed by him. Ida was focused on vengeance. The motorcyclist made a sharp turn to pursue the young man. The armored teen had to make a hard stop as the motorcycle got in his way. Do you have a death wish or something? No, but you sure as hell do, Kiyo said. Red Riot got off the fire cycle. Kiyo powered down the bike as he adjusted his new fire gauntlets. Hatsumi had said that there was only a 30% chance they'd blow up. Despite the odds, Kiyo would put them to the test. I know what you're gonna say, but, well, that makes things easier then. Follow me. Kiyo walked into the nearest alleyway, leaving Red Riot and Tenya confused for a moment before they followed. Weren't you gonna talk me out of this? Originally, yeah, but I don't think you'd listen. Kirishima said, Kiyo filled me in on what you were planning on the ride here. We're gonna help you take Stain down. Ida was dumbfounded. Did Kiyo not tell Kirishima that he planned on killing Stain? Probably not, considering the redhead didn't seem like the type to condone murder. Then, by that logic, did that mean Kiyo was willing to help Ida kill someone? The UA students followed the pro-hero's silent orders to a T, though it took Ida a moment to catch on. Kiyo would give hand signals to the boys for when to stop, move quickly, and keep an ear out. The Spitfire hero seemed way too comfortable skulking around in the dark, which both Red Riot and Tenya noticed. Kirishima asked out quietly, You've done stuff like this before, Kiyo? Back in the States, yeah. Did a lot of undercover work for the police. Given my background, it only made sense. What do you mean? Kiyo realized his horrible mistake. He can't just say, my parents were Shie Hasaikai drug traffickers for many years before being shot in the head and thrown into a river for their treachery. Everything Kiyo had done would be put under intense scrutiny if that came to light. Something moved before Kiyo could answer the question. It looked like a woman, but the Spitfire wasn't sure. He raised a closed fist and then pointed to his ears, signaling for the students to stop and listen. An uncomfortable quiet loomed. Kiyo peeked around the corner to see the long-haired woman again, floating a foot off the ground. She seemed to be looking for something. The woman turned in Kiyo's direction. The pro-hero pulled back behind the wall and hoped he wasn't spotted. When he dared another look, he found the woman had disappeared. Where the heck did she... Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream came from nowhere. Ida yelled out, That's gotta be him! Kirishima gave chase. Dude, wait up! Tenya dashed towards the direction of the cry, followed by Red Riot. Kiyo raced after the boys, calling out to them. His calls were ignored as the students pulled further away from him. Spitfire slowed his pace, realizing he might need backup, and sent a message to his closest ally. By this point, Tenya and Red Riot were out of Kiyo's sight. He needed a way to catch up with them. It was then that something in the garbage caught Kiyo's eye. An old, yet intact skateboard. Endeavor was leading Shoto and Taiko Sochi in the direction of the Nomu attacks. They'd have to worry about Stain later. A chime came from the Flame Hero's phone. It was a location marker from Hizashi with a single word as the message. Stain. Endeavor stopped his stride in shock. When did Spitfire get to Hosu? And was he fighting the hero killer right now? I got the address! Let's go, Shochan! Endeavor didn't notice his nephew had looked at his phone. The jade-eyed teen was running off with Shoto running after him. Shoto, get back here. It's too dangerous. His son did stop to look at him warily. Shoto was conflicted as he looked from his father to his cousin, who was still running ahead. Give that location to any available pros you find. Shoto tased Taiko Sochi, ignoring his father's calls. The icy hot teen had a hard time keeping up. He'd just catch glimpses of Izuku turning corners before disappearing. Slow down, Taiko! I can't keep up! His cousin couldn't hear Shoto's pleading. Before long, Shoto had completely lost sight of Izuku. The icy hot teen stopped to catch his breath, unsure and afraid. He could feel eyes on him as he rated his fire. My, aren't you lost, little boy? To say Native was afraid would be undermining the power the hero killer had over him. The pro-hero was paralyzed and at Stain's mercy. The jagged blade would have cleaved Native in two had Tenya not showed up, followed by Red Riot. Stain! I'm gonna kill you for what you did to... Stain threw a knife at Tenya. It would have plunged into his chest if Red Riot didn't step in the way. The blade deflected off of his hardened chest, barely scratching the surface. That was a warning. Now, leave! The hero killer's words fell on deaf ears. Tenya shoved past Red Riot and rushed Stain. He fought the skilled swordsman, fueled by hatred. There was no way Tenya would win. Red Riot joined the fray, focusing on defense and drawing Stain's attention. If the UA students were on the hero killer's level, this 1v2 match would be overwhelming. Stain smashed the butt of his sword into Red Riot's face, cracking his hardening and drawing blood before stabbing Tenya in the shoulder. Stain booted Tenya away before throwing Red Riot aside. The red-headed hero picked himself up. Native's gaze caught his. Defend the defenseless! Red Riot remembered Kyo's first lesson. Without Native, Stain couldn't use him as a hostage. Red Riot quickly grabbed the paralyzed hero and ran for it. Even if he only got Native a small distance away from the fight, it would be enough to get the pro out of danger. Stain noticed the escape attempt, and how the armored teen didn't stop fighting and run away with the hero. He was certainly not worthy. With a lick of his blade, Tenya's body became paralyzed. Metal clattering resonated as Red Riot saw his classmate fall. Ida! Red Riot dropped Native before running back into battle. The redhead saw Stain raise the butt of his sword to his mouth, lapping up the blood residue he got from Red Riot earlier. A pulse of numbing overcame the sturdy hero. Red Riot fell, confused and fearful. The Red One was at least noble enough to get the wounded to safety. He was even willing to come back to aid you. A worthy hero indeed. But you, boy... Stain plunged his katana into Tenya's shoulder. You were focused on revenge, that you didn't even bother with anything else. You don't deserve the title of hero. You don't know a damn thing about me, Ida said. I am Ingenium, and I will take you down. Not likely. Stain raised his blade to finish the job. Red Riot was silenced by fear. There wasn't anything he could do. Spheres of light came from the darkness, flying over the paralyzed victims and crashing right into Stain. The hero killer jumped back and deflected the attacks as the source of the fireballs rode in on a skateboard. Kyo ollied and rode along the wall, unleashing fire streams from his gauntlets. The fire breather pushed off the wall and landed skateboard first between the hero killer and Tenya. Kyo kicked the board into his grip. Congratulations, you're being rescued. Spitfire Kyo, isn't this a surprise? You've heard of me. I'm honored to be known by the one and only Stendhal. It's been a while since I've heard that name. Someone's kept their ear to the ground. Better my ear than my nose. I wouldn't want to encroach on your look. Now, here's how things are gonna go down. Kyo tossed the skateboard into the air, drawing Stain's eyes. The fire breather threw flame-throwing punches before kicking the falling skateboard. Stain avoided the projectiles. I'm going to roast your ass before kicking it into next week. Along with all the heroes you've slaughtered and hospitalized, I'm gonna make you pay for hurting my boys. And that's our video for today, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we go, there's a little bit of housekeeping I want to go over with you. First, We the Celestials has many other channels and content for your entertainment and viewing pleasures. All the information you'll need is right below in the description, so please feel free to check out all the other incredible content our team creates. Second, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Give the writer and the editors some love, they really do need it. Their details are also in the description. But that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome. This has been Tim. Mustache out.